Welcome, everybody, to the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your co-host for the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. And right now I want to welcome in my other co-hosts. First, we'll start off with one who will probably argue his points coherently, Collin Hartman. How you doing, Collin?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
And then we'll introduce the guy who is, he's so old that, are you in the nursing home doing the show now, Steve Risley?
No, the way I take this now is now you're gone and making Collin announcing him for me. People always save the best for last. I mean, I get that. So that's why now you're going to get Collin in front of me. Go ahead.
No, actually, I put Collin in front of you so people don't stop listening, and then they hear, oh, Risley's on. But, hey, Hartman's on. I want to hear what he's got to say.
We all want to hear what Hartman's got to say, don't we?
Sure we do.
Oh,
all right, guys.
today
did not go as well as the first three games.
Hey, Collin,
just interrupt me.
Have you changed your profile picture? Have you changed your profile picture on Facebook again lately?
No.
All right. It's the other one. I figured it's about time for you to do that now. You pretty boys.
Yeah, Steve's jealous because he's really ugly and nobody wants to see a picture of him. So
yeah,
what the hell?
I've never in my life.
Can we get to this game?
No picture of me on my Facebook
or is
page.
this just going to be the Steve Risley wine hour?
Let's go, Mike.
All
what
right.
we got, baby?
Today, the Arkansas Razorbacks beat the Indiana Hoosiers 73-72. And from what I saw, to me, Indiana was not as free and dominant as they were playing on their home court. It looked to me like the Razorbacks picked the Hoosiers up full court. They set the tone to the game, and the press and the half-court defense created trouble for Indiana all night long. So my question is this, Collin. Is this good for a young team to go on the road, play in an atmosphere like this, even if they lose the game, to gain that experience and to learn what they need to work on?
Oh, of course. I mean, I'll be the first to tell you I was sick to my stomach to see how the game ended, losing. But, I mean, it's great for these guys to experience this. Obviously, you have guys like Romeo, who obviously he played really, really well today. A lot of young guys stepped up like Rob. Al made some big shots, kept us in the game early. You had guys step up. I mean, we're 4 guys short with Zach, Devontae, Race, and but, I mean, you have guys that step up, and you end up short. I mean, it's good for the guys to get out there and play on unfamiliar territory. But at the end of the day, you still have to figure out ways to win. But, yeah.
All right, Steve, I know that you feel completely different from Collin, and I know that I agree with Collin. So can you tell us why this is not good to go in a hostile environment with a young team and lose?
Well, before what the hell is ever good about losing? I mean, what do you ever learn from losing?
Okay,
you can't win by making a 2-inch.
I can tell you what you learned.
Wait a minute, you asked me a freaking question.
I know, and you're answering it with a question. You're not giving me your answer.
No, it was a hypothetical statement.
Oh.
You miss a 2-inch tap in at the buzzer to ice the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you win the game and learn the same lessons.
No, you don't.
Okay, then you make a stupid foul.
No, you don't, Steve.
Right after you make a stupid missed play, and you cost yourself the game. I don't see no value in losing this game.
I can tell you
this is a game. We want to talk about Langford. Langford was 6 of 15. He didn't play well today. He scored 10. 6 of 15 is not a good night. He forced things all night long. But here's what I expected. This is what I expected out of this game. There are a bunch of young kids, freshmen. They've not played away from their own court yet. They've not taken on everything that I said was going wrong with this team. Went wrong. Gafford throws them up for 27 points. They can't play post defense to save their ass. And this is what happens if you don't. I'm starting to think, is Archie really a great defensive coach? I'm 4 games into this now, or 4 games into it. I haven't seen good post defense yet. You don't take Juwan Morgan and play him one-on-one against a kid like Gafford. You don't do that. You have help side defense. There was no communication going on. This is a game they should have won by 10 points, 15 points. Indiana was the better team today. They did exactly what I didn't want them to do, but I expected they would do. They went in. There was not a lot of good leadership on this team today. Juwan gets into foul trouble early in the first 3-4 minutes of the game. He's out for the whole first half. He comes back in and has a very good second half, but by then, you let this Gafford kid just roam all over you, and he's just lighting it up on you now. And they played like a bunch of freshmen who took their first outing away from home, and they made bad decisions. They were forcing 3-pointers. What was their 3-point shooting percentage? 8 of 20 from the 3 points. There you go. That's a good night. 8 of 20.
Yeah, that's a pretty good night.
26%.
8 of 20 is
no,
26%. 40%. You obviously went to Ball State, not Indiana. Did you take classes at Ball State and just come play basketball at IU? Jeez. 8 for 20 is terrible.
This is nothing that wasn't expected to happen here. I mean, we would hope they had every opportunity to win this game, and they just didn't do it. So I don't think it's bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that you learn something from losing a game. I've never learned anything from losing a game.
Really?
Anybody tells you that, somebody
sorry.
should be a philosopher and not a basketball player.
Okay. I would tell you that because this is what I do know. If you go in with that team and you tip that ball in, 90% of the things you would have learned, you don't learn because you won the game and you got away with it.
Well, I hold Archie Miller in higher respect than that he's going to coach them that way regardless.
It doesn't matter how Archie coaches them. As a player, you have a certain mentality. If you're winning, there's no sense of urgency. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe Collin will agree with you on this. But I think this. I've seen a lot of teams that, do stuff half-ass and get away with the wins and nothing ever gets fixed. And I can tell you this. I don't think you can find me too many good coaches, whether it's baseball, football, or basketball, that will tell you don't learn from a loss. Because if you don't learn from a loss, usually the losses will mount.
I disagree. I disagree.
So what are you supposed to do with this loss, Steve? What do you do with this loss if you don't learn from a loss? What do you do?
Yeah, so you're just going to continue on?
Well, no. The point is what you have to do with it is look at the performance of the game, not the loss. They should have won this game. The tip-in should have been made. We take a good drive down the bucket, with 3 seconds to go, 4 seconds to go, 5. I don't even know. And then
all right. So what's your takeaway? Your takeaway is the ball should have went in the basket at the end, so we'd have won. Is that what you would tell them as a coach?
And then you still have the same coaching things that you need to work on, obviously, because it's the same thing we've been talking about all season long. They don't play good post defense. They got on the first road trip. They got out of sorts on their offense a little bit early in the game. They started firing threes instead of running an offense. A little bit more one-on-one than I would have liked to have seen. And I don't think the win or loss makes a difference in what they learned from this game. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I can tell you this.
Not the way they lost the game. Not the way they lost the game.
Wait a second, because you just said no loss would ever teach you a lesson.
No, I never learned anything good about losing a game.
Well,
except that I was going to get my ass.
You don't learn anything good about losing a game. You learn what you need to correct. I don't think there's a coach in the world. There's not a coach in the NFL or college, if they lose a game early, that really cares. You just know what you got to fix.
Well, you know what? And we're going to find out real quick what Condoleezza Rice is going to do with the Cleveland Browns.
God, shut up. My God.
Because
I'll tell you what, I might take Condoleezza Rice over Marvin Lewis right now, though.
Back to IU.
Back to IU. This is the thing. I think this is a game. Wait a second. We've been on the air for 9 minutes and 24 seconds, and Steve Risley has talked for 7.5 minutes. So now I'm going to ask Collin Hartman a question, because obviously, if I didn't interrupt Steve, he would just talk endlessly, and this show would be the Indiana Basketball Infinity Show. Collin, Zach McRoberts, I think this is a game where his absence was actually felt big time. I think this is a game Zach McRoberts could have made a huge impact on.
And it's not that he was going to put up 25 points. It's not that. He's a very vocal guy, knows the system, knows how the game is supposed to be played at a high level, knows what it looks like. And especially in that first half, when you have a guy like Juwan Morgan go down, within the first 3 minutes. Juwan was quoted in the post-game interview saying, you can only do so much from the bench. And I experienced that from my senior year. If you're not out there, you can't feel the game. You can't be in there grabbing guys and stuff like that during the games or pushing guys to certain areas. And I think that could have been a place where we had two veteran leaders, stepping up and filling in for one if the other one's out. I think Zach would have filled that role more than anything. And just, coming out with loose balls, offensive rebounds, you never know. One tip out, an offensive rebound, hitting on a three, you never know what it's gonna do. But it's frustrating because you have guys out there like Rob and Romeo, performing, but they don't have the confidence yet to be that vocal and be that demanding on the road of those guys. And that will come. But I think, like you said, that's the biggest place where Zach would have, filled somewhat of that void, especially in the first half.
Yeah, and I think the thing that stands out to me when I look at the stat sheet the most, Steve, is the fact that Indiana, after taking care of the ball really well the first three games, the first two, not against great competition, but against Marquette, not a ton of turnovers, but they had 17 turnovers today. And that's probably, you probably want to be around 10 or 11 on an average, and they've been around that the first couple games, but the 17 turnovers has to be a cause for concern, especially coming off last year where it seemed like it was always cause for concern.
I just have a different view of you guys. That I expected 18, and I have 18 on the stat sheet I'm looking at, 17, 18, what's it matter? Well, it may matter because one turnover makes one bucket, changes the game. But I expected them to come into here and struggle a little bit because it's their first opportunity. We knew Arkansas was going to be a good team.
Yeah, so don't you think, Steve, since you knew they were going to struggle, did they learn something about themselves today? Because they struggled in this game. They could have easily been blown out. And you get Al Durham, Romeo Langford, even though he didn't shoot the ball well during the game, he made some clutch shots down the stretch. And this team was still in this game and should have won the game at the end.
Right. So what did they learn that we didn't already know?
Well, then I guess you couldn't learn anything. There's nothing to be learned from playing a game.
And in terms of like McRoberts and them not being there, there's a thing in the world called next man up.
Yeah, and I think this is what you get at the end of the season because of games like this. So what you learn is
if I felt we got outclassed in this game, we got outplayed.
Yeah, I
think we just made enough mental and physical errors. And the great thing about this thing is we still had a bunny opportunity to win this game, and walk away from it, learning something and winning the game. I can go through all the cliches. Champions find a way. Excuses are like buttholes. We all have one, and they all stink. We didn't have McRoberts, so we lost. I can go through all those.
So let me ask you this.
It's a very good basketball team.
Let me ask you this.
Indiana's a good basketball team. The coaching staff didn't do a good job preparing this team for this game.
All right. So let me ask you this.
You found, you uncovered a bunch of flaws today.
Okay.
But the thing about it is they had an opportunity. They had an opportunity to uncover all these flaws and still win the game, and they didn't capitalize on that. So I'm not going to be happy about the loss.
Bob Knight.
I'm not going to be sentimental about it.
Okay, Steve. Bob Knight had a tendency to schedule fairly tough in the preseason. Correct? Because
I guess
Well, you don't think you did? You guys lost 5 or 6 games in your first 15 at one point, and when you look at that, Steve, I think that a lot was learned in the first part of that season, don't you?
We're not hashing out the first part of the season with Knight because it's a completely different scenario than what this team's facing and the coaching they're getting right now. it's 180 degrees different.
Oh, okay.
Trust me, there's no way.
Okay. So you're right. So I'm sure IU didn't learn anything from the first 10 games of that season. Colin, you there?
No.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry,
Steve was just
something
proven
happened
wrong,
technology-wise.
and you missed it when Steve was proven wrong.
Give me a rundown.
Well, I just asked him in 1981 when they started out the season and lost like 5 of their first 12 or 13 games before going on to win a national championship, if he thinks that team learned anything about itself and if they changed anything after those early losses. And Steve said
what was the response?
Well, Steve said you can't compare Coach Knight to Coach Miller.
Well, you can't. Go ahead, Colin.
No, how can't you? I'm asking.
Yeah, why can't you?
Yeah,
that's what I was going to ask you.
What are you asking me?
Why can't you
compare Coach Miller to?
Because there's two different styles of coaching and things of that nature. And we weren't a team in '81. We're not like this team. This team is a young basketball team. They lived up to their expectations tonight. Like I said,
so what I'm saying is,
them to play well. I expected them to struggle. The only thing that frustrates me about the entire day is that they had a 2-inch bunny to win the game and missed it. That's the only thing that frustrates me about today. They learned a lot about themselves. Hopefully Coach Miller learned something about themselves. But I'm not going to sit here and just validate losing this game because it's a game they should have won.
Nobody's validating it. Nobody validating.
Yeah, nobody's validating. These guys have stuff they have to take from that. They have to take something from this game. They have to learn something. They have to learn. And these young guys have never seen failure. You guys like Romeo and all these young guys that are playing, and they've never seen failure. They never lost through high school ever. Like very rarely lost through high school, and I've always seen success. And you go into this hostile environment for the first time ever at a collegiate level. And you learn things about yourself. I don't care what you say. You learn from a loss. You learn from a win. You learn from a loss. And that's what these guys have to do. And I don't think.
Wait a second, Colin. Did you hear that?
Honestly,
he just said that you learn from a loss. And this, real quick, I got to give you this because I just saw this quote from Archie Miller after the contest. He said, "I'm disappointed that we lost, but I also know this is something that will make us better because you can really learn from a loss like this."
And the thing is, I think that, yes, you can compare Coach Knight to Coach Miller just because their mindsets. Yes, it's a different era. You conduct yourself in a different way. That's why Coach Knight was never successful after kind of the change of the era. It's just the game has changed. Society has changed. Everything's changed. But I think that Coach Miller is a very good comparison to the way that Coach Knight would have coached today if he would have abided by all of,
or been born 30 years
later. Colin, you're digging a hole you can't climb out of, son.
How?
You can't compare Knight to Miller. I mean, you just can't do it.
So who can you compare Knight to?
I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying you can't make a comparison because you weren't there when Knight was there.
You weren't there when Archie Miller was there.
But I had the privilege of watching Archie Miller coach and having 40 years of history.
I've seen game film. I've had game film of Bob Knight. You act like I haven't seen any of that.
Man, I don't know. That's okay. Hey, look, guys, here's the deal. I think it was a great learning opportunity for IU today. They learned a lot, but I'm not going to sit here and the last thing I'm going to say on this is I'm not going to condone this loss as being a great learning opportunity. It was a pistol-away basketball game that they should have won and still learn from. You can learn just as well from winning games badly as you can from losing games badly. That's all. That's all the part I'm differentiating on you guys on is that they should have won this game by 1 point, walked away, gone back and watched film the next couple of days, and said, my God, we got a lot of crap to work on. And we knew we were going to get into this situation. I'm just not going to sit here and say feel good about losing this game because it's a game we should not have lost. That's all. Other than that, we're all on the same page.
All right, so it's obvious that...
My dog thinks so, too.
It's obvious. No, that dog is screaming. Steve, be quiet. You lost badly. All right. So when you look at Indiana's offense,
finish out the show. Go ahead.
You're still talking.
I'm watching the Bears and the Vikings play anyway.
All right. See, that's how you can tell when he lost, because he gets defensive, and then he says he's going to watch a football game instead. But the one thing that I did like tonight in the second half especially, I think you saw a little bit of a new wrinkle that could be big moving forward in the Romeo Langford, Juwan, Morgan offense, and that's the ball screening action there. And, Collin, I think Morgan's ability to either knock down a three or get to the rim makes him a dangerous screener, and Langford's ability to do the pick and roll makes him dangerous in his own right, too. And I think as this season progresses, I think this offense will begin to click.
It will. And that's going to come with, building chemistry and just learning the system more and more and more and being more creative with it. And also at the same time, simplifying the game. People try to the game too complicated and it becomes too complex, and it's just when these guys simplify the game and make the easy pass, hit single after single after single, then it'll be hard to stop. Like I said, we just need to get back to where we have got 3, 4, 5, 6 guys in double digits, because it makes the game, it's going to pick up the pace of the game, and it's going to make them that much harder to guard. And
so
like
Collin,
Steve addressed earlier,
can I ask you a question? When you're done, I got a question for you. When you're done, go ahead and finish.
And I was just saying, we're not a big team. We're deep, but we're not a big team. So I just think that we need to really lock into the help side defense on post coverages, mixing them up. I know Coach Miller and the staff are working on that, and I think that it's when we run up against the guys like we did today, we can't guard them one-on-one. I mean, we haven't historically had 7-footer after 7-footer after 7-footer come in like some of these teams do to guard one-on-one in the post. We just don't. So we've always had to game plan around it, and you have to bring the help side and mix up your schemes in the post, whether you're dig off the ball or dig off the weak side or front the post and bring the backside help and stuff like that. So it's just mixing it up and being creative with it on that front. What's your question, Steve?
So what do you do with Juwan Morgan for the third game? I've got 3 of the 4 stat sheets in the games. He takes 8 shots a game. We're not coaching that he needs to be shooting the ball more. He's 6 for 8 tonight. He's only getting 8 shots a game.
Yeah, but when you're in foul trouble, that's what happens.
Okay, now I knew you were going to bring that up. I knew you were going to say that. I'm ready for you because he played 23 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
He had 25 minutes in the second game. He had 24 minutes in the third game. Same number of minutes no matter when he's on the court, and he's only getting 8 shots a game. I knew you were going to bring that up.
And that's a shot every 3 minutes.
He's playing the same minutes. Well, he needs to be shooting more.
Why does he need to be shooting more? Because you have said yourself this is a guard-dominated team, and what I saw tonight was together, Morgan and Langford in the second half kept Indiana alive. They scored 37 points combined on 12 of 23 shooting, including 4 of 8 from behind the arc. And I think what you've got still here is you've got a lot of freshmen that are getting a lot of playing time here. And this is just going to take a while for this to gel in the mesh and for Morgan to be comfortable with the perimeter guys and vice versa.
Okay. I mean, the kid's shooting about 75% from the field.
I think he needs to shoot more. I think he would have. I believe that he would have shot more tonight.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at those 8 shots, Steve, if he plays the entire game, he's probably taking 13, 14, 15 shots.
But he's getting the same number of minutes. Like I said, he had the same number of minutes.
Yeah.
His minutes haven't.
I agree.
I think come and said he only got 8 shots.
I agree with that.
Because he only played 24 minutes and he's playing 37 minutes in the other games. I'm going, okay, I buy your argument. But the fact is he's not engaging into the offense enough, in my opinion, and I don't think they're getting him engaged into the offense enough because we're becoming too much of a perimeter team. And what happened today was our perimeter offense was not as effective as it had been against Chicago State and Montana State. And we started jacking up threes rather than still trying to penetrate the ball or look to dump inside. Tennessee doesn't score any points at all. He's 0 for everything. No, not Tennessee. I'm talking about Pistons.
Pistons.
Pistons. Yeah. Pistons. Yeah. I'm saying it was
Fitzner's the one that I would worry about from this because I didn't expect to see a 0 on his box score.
Yeah, well, I'm starting to get a little concerned. I agree with everybody's assessment. They're a young team. It's going to take time to develop them. But I'm not seeing any improvements in the areas where we're defining that they have some weaknesses in.
Yeah, but I think this, too. I think this, though, Steve, when you look at this, Arkansas's full court defense wears you down. It creates mental mistakes. The thing is, they've played 3 games against teams that didn't play anywhere near that pace. And I think the more you play at Arkansas, the more you play at Duke, the more you learn to play. I mean, you've got to concentrate. It's the biggest thing you're doing. And how many times you had your coach, whether it was Knight, Miller, Crean, whoever, and they'll tell you that, you can only be a great player if you could keep your concentration, especially when you get tired, because great players can play through tired. Players that aren't so great usually tap out and 1 out of the game for a few minutes.
And, Steve, I completely agree with you going back to the Juwan thing. I think that Juwan, the first 3 games, he was feeling it out. And I don't think – I think there's a time and a place for that. But there are no really, gimmicks from, now until April or whatever. I think that he has to take more shots. I think that he's shooting too high of a percentage, and I don't think those are 3-point shots. I don't think those are where those more shots come from. I think that where his percentage is highest, and where he's going to be most effective is getting those big guys in foul trouble with his speed, with his footwork, and with his athleticism, is getting those big guys in foul trouble so that we can play the way that we are best and give him that advantage. But I think that if he was not in foul trouble today, I think he, as a player, would recognize, like he did in the second half, that he has to go a little more.
Yeah, but see,
he has to be more selfish, be more aggressive.
I think that's what we haven't seen from him, though, is what he needs to put him on his back, he does. But if he would just do that from the beginning, he wouldn't have to at the end.
I agree. Well, and knowing Juwan, it's the mindset thing. He's when things go bad, he kind of gets quiet and just goes to work. And he just needs to just go to work from the beginning.
And he did that in the second half. He did that. He played a great second half, I thought. I thought he played a very good second half when he was in the game more. I get that, and I buy that. But now I'm looking at Miller. I'm looking more at Miller right now than I am Juwan. What is Miller doing to engage him early into the game? This is becoming a little bit of a pattern now that he's kind of taken the first 15 minutes of the game off and then starting to get concerned about what's going on in the game. I think we need to get him off to a great start. He needs to stay like he did last year. I remember games last year where Juwan scored the first 8, 9, 10 points of a game on more than one occasion, where he was a dominant force at the beginning of the game. Where we haven't seen that yet. Again, guys, I think I'm not displeased with anything other than the fact that we lost a game we should have won, even though we didn't play our best game. I pretty much expected we weren't going to play a lot better than this. I would have been surprised if we did. But I think the way we lost the game is a way you don't ever want to be happy about losing a game this way. And you don't ever want to say, I learned from losing a game this way. If I just got outclassed by somebody by 30 points or 40 points, yeah, I learned I'm not as good as them. We're not there. But when you lose a game with 18 turnovers, a 2-inch tip-in bunny at the end of the game, after you battled your butt back from a 10-point deficit and then can't close it out, now those are all talking points in the locker room for the next week or until they play the next game. But don't sit here and tell me that it's okay to lose this game. Not the way they lost it. I ain't buying that. That dog don't hunt in my field.
Well, then the season's over.
No, they'll learn from it.
Okay, so what's
You just said it. Wait a second. Did you hear what he said? He just said, no, they'll learn from it.
I said all along, I don't think that they won't learn from tonight. I just said, don't tell me it's okay to lose this game.
Nobody ever said it was okay to lose the game. Did you ever say that, Collin? Because I don't think that's what I said.
The loss
wasn't
the learning opportunity. The mistakes they made. Yeah. The loss was not the losing opportunity. The mistakes they made to put them in that position to lose the game is the learning opportunity. That's what you need to learn, Mike, as a coach.
Well, I'm glad you're telling me that. So someday I can be as good a coach as you. All right. So you did coach AAU basketball, though. So next up, the next two games, the Hoosiers play on Tuesday night and then on Friday night. And actually, the two teams that they play on Tuesday and Friday played each other today. Texas Arlington, the Mavericks, beat UC Davis 68-59. Texas Arlington will come to Indiana on Tuesday night. I think the key here is this, from listening to you guys talk, is for Juwan Morgan to come out, just take this game over in the first 10 minutes and end it right away.
That'd be nice.
That's what I would like to see.
That's the biggest takeaway I'd like to get from tonight is Juwan Morgan establishing himself earlier in the game process and these guys learning how to play post defense, because you can't rely on our guards to have perimeter defense be our only line of defense all season long. What will happen is what happened today. I mean, this one kid, Gafford, ate us alive. We had nothing for this kid at all.
Yeah, and
we couldn't stop him.
When you look at
the only person to stop Gafford was Gafford himself when he wanted out of the game at some point, because he was like breathing so hard from running up down the court, scoring so much. He's begging the coach to pull him out of the game. His coach was 6 minutes to go, had to call a timeout to give the kid a break. He was so tired. So
maybe that was the thought. We just let him wear himself out like that, but he came back in the game. Texas
came back in the game and killed us again.
Yeah, we were hoping he'd stay gone longer. Texas Arlington is a team that plays with three guards. They're 3-1 right now. I think they're much better than the first two Indiana opponents. Of course, they're not as good as Marquette. But Texas Arlington is a team that can create trouble with their perimeter offense and defense. They did beat what's usually a good Northern Iowa team 74-65 at home. They beat UC Davis today. I think Texas Arlington is the bigger challenge of the two teams this week. So what overall, outside of Juwan Morgan coming out and dominating, what do we want to see that this team did learn something from this game, Collin? Or can we see that in a game like this?
Oh, you can see it. You'll see it in guys' demeanor. You'll see it in guys. You'll see it right from the tip. You'll see it in, if they came out, balls to the wall and just get after these dudes and have them done by the first half. That'd be great. I'd love to see the team healthy. But I think that you will know right out of the gate if they have taken this loss seriously, or kind of just brushed it off like, it's our first road game, blah, blah, blah. Or if they took it seriously and really took it to heart, and guys come out and they're unselfish and firing on all cylinders and just blow this team out of the water, as they should. If we have the expectations and they have the expectations that they should, and we expect of them as fan base, for them to make a run in the NCAA tournament and stuff like that, they have to blow teams out of the water like this, especially at home, regardless of how early in the season it is.
Yeah, Steve? Oh, go ahead.
Especially after a loss. Go ahead.
All right. Steve, what do you want to see in this game? And you got to realize that a week from Tuesday night, they're headed to Duke.
Yeah, no, I concur with Collin entirely. I mean, I don't disagree with either one of you guys. I'm just not going to sit here and watch for the 45th time and say they learn anything from losing the game.
You keep saying it. We're not even talking about it anymore. That's how I know you lost.
All right. Go ahead. No, I agree with Collin entirely. In this assessment of the team, they're going to be fine. They're going to get better. I thought actually Romeo Langford played one of the most aggressive games I've seen him play tonight. I just think he was playing aggressive without great basketball IQ, based on some of his shot selection and things he was doing. But that's going to get stronger as he plays more. I understand that. So I was appreciative of Romeo's. Tonight I thought he was the most aggressive that I'd seen him play all season long in the 4 games I've watched him play. So there's more great takeaways than there are mistakes or troubles in this game. You know, the problems are, like Collin said, they're the same ones. We've got to get Juwan involved earlier in the game, and we've got to learn to play post defense. And really, I think it really only boils down. Collin, do you agree? It kind of boils down to those two things that are the biggest necessities of this team right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's finding that balance between having guys, 5-6 guys in double digits, and knowing when you have the opportunity like Juwan does, and the scoring ability that Juwan does, to just take over and give your team a cushion when need be.
Yeah.
And I think that he needs to, like you said, just there have to be times where he can't wait until he needs the team to take over. He needs to just take over so the team can, kind of go through these growing pains without taking a loss.
All right.
Yeah,
guys.
and I think that a little bit of that boils down to Collin. We were talking about leadership and how we think Juwan is the leader of this team. I mean, he's got to show that on the court by stepping up and setting the tone and the pace at the beginning of play for Indiana, and
right,
and letting other guys fall into place with him. And so far, he has not shown us that in the early parts of the game he's willing to do that yet. Now, for whatever reason, you know him better than I do. The only thing I know about him is he and I were born in the same town in Waynesville, Missouri. That's the only real comparison I have to Juwan Morgan.
All right.
You know him good. If that's his personality or not. But, the problems aren't deep. They aren't heavy and they aren't deep. They're very fixable.
Right. Not a selfish team or anything
no,
like that.
No, it's not a selfish team at all. They still put 4 kids in double figures
easy
again tonight.
Yeah,
they're easy fixes. They really are easy fixes. And we should not be ashamed. We had every opportunity to win this basketball game and walk away 4-0 and come back to Indiana 4-0, And it's, Mike, you want to wrap it up, I guess?
I got a question from a listener. His name is Jim from Anderson, Indiana. He wants to know what? You don't want to talk to anybody from Anderson, Indiana?
He wants to know what kind of medication I'm on, probably.
No, we already told everybody off air. We sent out a tweet, me and Collin, earlier today. We just made sure we blocked you before we did it. And he takes everything. All right, guys. This is the question from Jim from Anderson, Indiana. And Jim, I'm sorry that Steve mocked your question already before hearing it. But the Big Ten right now, or whatever they call it, what is the Big 17 or whatever it is now, there is no team with a losing record at the moment. Do you think, and this question is for Collin, because Jim says Steve spoke most of the show, let Collin answer the question. And I'm not kidding. I'll send you a screenshot of it if you want. But he wants to know Steve's opinion too. So, but he said to ask Collin first. But do you think that is indicative of the Big Ten being stronger than people thought it would be, or is it just indicative of playing easy games early on in the season and doesn't really tell you much right now?
Right. I mean, I think that the Big Ten is stronger than people think. But at the same time, also you only have a couple teams that are playing big teams, good talent ranked teams and stuff like that. But I think that the Big Ten overall is, at least the top half is stronger than the rest of the country thinks. But I think that it trickles down to where there's going to be some really poor teams in the Big Ten that'll make it not seem as competitive.
All right, Steve.
I'm just taking a look right here. I agree with Collin. I mean, I think it's really hard to answer that question fairly because no Big Ten teams are playing anybody really great right now. It's going to start happening when the ACC Big Ten Challenge comes up next week. You'll get a real taste of where we really are at that point in time, stacking up against some of the other Power 5 conferences. So, yeah. I mean,
if you look at it, Steve, real quick, to me, the two that stick out are Michigan beats Villanova, and they beat them easily.
Right.
And Wisconsin goes to Xavier and beats Xavier. But I think Xavier and Villanova are nowhere near the teams they were last year either, though.
Exactly. Yeah. And Jim, thank you for the question. I do want to thank you very much for taking the time to listen and ask the question. I just think it's really difficult to make that any kind of statement off that right now because really nobody's playing anybody other than they're playing their warm-up games to get into it. And, you know, just now with Indiana playing at Arkansas, that was a good game for Indiana. It's a good test for them to go see what they're really made of. But, you know, when the ACC Big Ten Challenge starts, I think next week or 2 weeks, when does that happen?
I don't know. It's next week.
It's the week,
next
2 weeks
after
after
IU plays
Duke,
Duke,
yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, when IU plays Duke. But everybody will play everybody then. We'll get a good taste. But it does appear to me that the Big Ten is going to be a little bit stronger than everybody gave them credit for on the upper half of the teams in the Big Ten. Other than that, it's a crapshoot right now. You know.
The team that's interesting to me right now is Iowa, which will tell you Steve Alford's no longer there. But they beat Oregon 77-69. They beat Connecticut 91-72. The win over Oregon, it was ranked 13th, and to beat them by 8 points, even though it's at home, is a good win. So to me, when I look at it, I think Iowa may be the team with the best resume so far of what anybody's done.
Mm-hmm.
But really, everybody's played kind of the same schedule.
Yeah, Maryland's 5-0. They won't.
Yeah, but look who they played.
On 28th, they play Virginia. So they'll get a chance to spank my boy Kyle Guy.
You know who plays for Virginia, Colin? Kyle Guy, the all-time leading scorer at Lawrence Central University or college. No, it's not a college. It's a high school.
You know who I'll be rooting for in that game?
You're going to be rooting for Kyle Guy because he went to the school you went to, right? And he broke all your scoring records.
I don't care. It matters not to me.
Hey, the other team that stands out to me is Ohio State, who went to Cincinnati and beat the Bearcats by 8. Then they went to Creighton and beat Creighton by 9. Once again, I don't think Cincinnati or Creighton are as good as they were last year, but those are both hostile environments to play basketball.
Road wins.
Yeah.
Yep, road wins. Road wins
are hard to come by.
Road wins are probably your biggest measure right now. I agree. That's great. It's a great point, Colin. That is a great point.
I think I made that. I think I brought it up, but go ahead.
But Colin said road wins. But I think that's the way you measure teams right now is what are you doing away from home? Because most everybody's playing, you know, these lesser, I hate to say lesser teams because it only takes 5 guys on the court, but they're doing it all at home. And you get your better measure of where you are when you go on the road and play. I think we all agree on that. And that's a great point, Colin. That teams that are winning on the road right now in the Big Ten are the teams that should be scaring you. Because, you know, the 20-game schedule, you're playing everybody home.
Road wins are hard to come by.
Roads on the win. The Big Ten are brutal to come by. You know,
roads
we both
on
know
the
that,
win.
Yeah.
What the hell is a roads on the win?
Wins on the road.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. They're you take them however you get them. Ugly, pretty, whatever. You take them how you get them. And if you can stack up a couple road wins against other conferences right now, Power 5 conferences, I think that's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Are we gonna be live Tuesday night after Texas Arlington, Indiana? Or?
Yeah, I will.
Okay. Are you on to the game, Colin?
No, I'm not.
All right. We will come on the air about 10 minutes after the game ends. Does that sound good for everybody?
Works for me. Let's roll.
All right, guys. So check us out Tuesday night on the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, wherever you find sports podcasts. You'll find The Grueling Truth. I was going to sign off, but then I remembered. If you want to ask questions like Jim did tonight, you can hit us up on Twitter at Grueling Truth. You can send us messages through Facebook. You can go srisley34. You can send messages there. Colin, you want to give out your Twitter handle?
Yeah, Collin Hartman 30. You just mention me or tweet at me, and we'll answer those questions for you.
There you go. So if you have any questions, make sure you do that. So for Steve Risley, Collin Hartman, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.